As far as we can tell, Christian monasticism started in the 3rd and 4th centuries. Its growth accelerated after 313 AD when Constantine legalized Christianity across the Roman Empire. And from researching how desert activism began, some historians note the timing is quite significant. With state persecution no longer a threat, some Christians saw a different kind of hardship, deliberate withdrawal from society, extreme simplicity, and self-denial in the wilderness. The figure most associated with founding this movement is Anthony the Great, born around 251 AD, and I did a video on St. Anthony a while ago, and his biography was written by Athanasius of Alexandria. Circulated widely and influenced Christians across the empire to adopt a similar ascetic life. And by the 380s, when the monk Palladius visited Nitria, the region held an estimated 5,000 monks and 600 hermits. And this was the environment that John the Dwarf entered as a young man. John was born around 339 AD in Thebes, Egypt, to poor Christian parents, and little else is recorded about his childhood. At age 18, John and an older brother left home for the desert of Sketes. There, John became a disciple of Pambo, an established monk and contemporary of Anthony the Great. Pambo had joined the monastic settlement at Nitria in its early years. He was illiterate on arrival and learned to read by memorizing scripture. He was known for speaking rarely and for supporting himself entirely through manual labour, weaving rushes into baskets and rope. Again, I've done a video on St. Pambo previously. Under Pambo, John also formed a close association with a fellow monk, Pishoi. John later taught several monks himself, including Arsenius, who would become a significant figure in the desert tradition in his own right. Historical sources describe John's diet as flatbread and vegetables taken once daily for the remainder of his life. And I would say the most popular, or the story most associated with John, concerns obedience. According to tradition, Pambo gave John a dry piece of wood and instructed him to plant it and water it daily. The nearest water source was roughly 12 miles away. John maintained this task, walking the distance twice a day for 3 years, at which point the wood reportedly sprouted and grew into a fruiting tree. Pambo is said to have distributed this fruit from the tree to other monks, describing it as the fruit of obedience. The story has some external corroboration. A traveller named Postumian, recorded as visiting Egypt in 402 AD, wrote that he was shown a tree in the monastery courtyard matching this description, still bearing leaves. After Pambo's death, John was ordained a priest by Pope Theophilus of Alexandria and became abbot of a monastery at the site associated with the tree. In 395 AD, the region of Sketes was invaded by a group referred to in sources as the Maziques. John left the Nitrian desert and relocated to Mount Colzim, near present-day Suez. He remained there for the rest of his life and died around 405 AD. In 515 AD, his remains were transferred back to the Nitrian desert. Now, most of John's life is limited to what we have left. However, what are left are countless sayings in the sayings of the Desert Fathers, and we're just going to read a couple of them now. Abba John the Dwarf said, "If a king wanted to take possession of his enemy's city, he would begin by cutting off the water and the food, and so his enemies, dying of hunger, would submit to him. It is the same with the passions of the flesh. If a man goes about fasting and hungry, the enemies of his soul grow weak." One day when he was sitting in front of the church, the brethren were consulting him about their thoughts. One of the old men who saw it became a prey to jealousy and said to him, John, your vessel is full of poison. Abba John said to him, That is very true, Abba, and you have said that when you only see the outside, but if you were able to see the inside too, what would you say then? Abba John said, I am like a man sitting under a great tree, who sees wild beasts and snakes coming against him in great numbers. When he cannot withstand them any longer, he runs to climb the tree and is saved. It is just the same with me. I sit in my cell, and I am aware of evil thoughts coming against me, and when I have no more strength against them, I take refuge in God by prayer, and I am saved from the enemy. Abba Poeman said of Abba John the Dwarf that he had prayed God to take his passions away from him, so that he might become free from care. He went and told an old man this, I find myself in peace, without an enemy, he said. The old man said to him, Go, beseech God to stir up warfare, that you may regain the affliction and humility you used to have. For it is by warfare that the soul makes progress. So he besought God, and when warfare came, he no longer prayed that it might be taken away, but said, Lord, give me strength for the fight. Abba John said, Who sold Joseph? A brother replied, saying, It was his brethren. The old man said to him, No, it was his humility, which sold him, because he could have said, I am their brother, and have objected. But because he kept silence, he sold himself by his humility. It is also his humility which set him up as chief in Egypt.